This example will be used to investigate the behavior of controlling the voltage across the threshold pin of the 555 chip. The threshold pin, well, in its default, typically in default configuration, the threshold pin is grounded through a capacitor, and the default threshold voltage is 2/3 the applied voltage. But if you vary the voltage across the threshold pin, it changes the threshold voltage required to turn off output. So let me get a few shots to show how things are wired up. It's pretty much the standard Astable 55 chip configuration, with the only change being that the threshold pin, instead of being grounded through a capacitor, now runs through a trim pot, which it has ground and power by 2 resistors to be sure that there's always a resistance across ground and power. As the trim pot is varied, the threshold will change for cutoff. So right now, I just powered up the circuit, and you can hear audio from the speaker, and I'm applying 9 volts. So with the current setting of the trim pot, we're at the default setting of the threshold being 6 volts. So as I vary the resistance on the trim pot, you can hear the frequency change. Frequency starts getting higher till it gets to a maximum value. So let me connect the oscilloscope to the capacitor so we can see the voltage change across the capacitor. So now I've connected an oscilloscope probe so we can look at the capacitor voltage. So on the oscilloscope, we can see that the capacitor reaches a maximum value of 6 volts. It discharges, and then when it hits 3 volts, which is the value required to trigger the threshold capacitor again, we hit a bottom. So the circuit is oscillating between the capacitor is oscillating between 6 and 3 volts with a frequency of about 6 kilohertz. As I start changing the resistance in the trim pot, you can see the threshold start to decrease, and the minimum value also start to decrease to this is the smallest value, while the frequency goes up to almost 8 kilohertz. Let's take a quick look at the output, the voltage across the output pin. So I need to change the oscilloscope configuration. So now the oscilloscope is looking at the voltage across the output pin, which it's sort of hard to see in there, but I've just attached it to the point where that resistor connects to the output pin. And we see the square wave output being generated by the capacitor flip-flopping between, turning itself on and off. So as we start changing the frequency, we can see that since the capacitor is going to a lower cutoff voltage, we can see that the time that the capacitor on is actually decreasing, while the time that it off is staying actually constant. Let me go through that again. So that's it for the Astable 555 chip control pin demo. Thanks.